how am I going to get there? Who's going to take me? The answer is no one, because I'm not having my mother take me to see Xana.
Oh, no.
I will literally go by myself. I don't know how I'll get there, but I'm sorry, look at this fucking tour poster.
Oh my god.
How am I going to pull this?
I'm
sorry. January, February, March, April, May, June. Could you imagine me seeing Xana in June? I would combust.
Yeah, she is in Texas in June. Hey, I can see her in June too if I go to my grandparents in Florida.
Why would you go to Florida when you could just come and see me?
I don't know, especially since she has also in June one in New York. And one in Boston. Both of those are like 2 hours away.
I'm sorry, not Olivia Rodrigo selling a shot glass because she's turning 21. That's funny as hell. That's funny as hell.
My favorite Olivia Rodrigo lore, or whatever, is the fact that, for some reason, Hank Green is on her PR list.
Oh my god, yeah.
And so he'll just, post reels or TikToks of him getting things from Olivia Rodrigo, and he's like, I don't understand why I'm getting this shit, but thank you so much, Olivia, I appreciate it. He got a Valentine's Day thing from Olivia Rodrigo, and he's like, wow, this is so sweet. And he doesn't fully understand why he's on the PR list, but he's like, thanks, I guess. And it's so funny.
I don't know how I would even swing this getting tickets, but we're not going to think about that.
Okay.
I don't know anything. I would walk my ass to Dallas to see Xana, okay?
I believe in you. You ready to talk about Courtney Milan?
Yes.
Hello, welcome to a Fish and Flower podcast. I'm Flower, aka Rose, and my fun fact of the day is that I redid my nails today. One, because the nail polish I had on has been chipping for a while and cracking, so I wanted to replace it. And then also my nails were getting to the point where they were, long enough where it was getting annoying. I would just hit my wall sometimes, accidentally, with my nail. And so I, took off all the nail polish and trimmed them, and then, put on new nail polish. The thing is, the funny part of this is that I was wearing red nail polish, and at one point I put too much acetone on one of the cotton balls, and so what happened is a bunch of acetone saturated in red nail polish just dripped all the way down my arm, and it was very funny. It looked like someone had tried to kill me, and I laughed. I laughed very hard, and that is why that's my fun fact.
Yeah, no, I was just talking, and then it said, dude, Colin, that I was like,
What'd you do, bitch? Did you hear the part about the red nail polish dripping down my arm, making me look like I had been murdered? Or I killed someone?
No, I did not hear that.
Okay, so, me, red nail polish had on. Too much acetone on a cotton ball trying to get nail polish off. Causing a bunch of red nail polish saturated acetone to drip down my arm, all the way down my arm. So it looked like a bunch of blood was dripping down my arm.
That's really funny, actually.
And it took a lot of work to get it all off. I had to scrub hard to get all of it off. It was real annoying.
I imagine your arm's so amazing right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely very pinkish, in a lot of places. And also, on top of that, the cardigan I am wearing, which is a beige cardigan, the sleeves are pinkish red now.
Oh, Lord.
Uh-huh. It's fine.
Did you mention I have the cardigan?
You have the cardigan? I believe in you. I do not have the cardigan. This is a random Walmart. I got this one at Walmart 5 years ago, and I wear it on a regular basis, especially when it's cold as fuck.
That's so valid. You know how many people would rob me to get this damn cardigan?
The fish secretly lives in Tennessee. I'm trying to think of a state that was not Texas.
Well, Texas is a big state.
True. But I'm trying to point them in an opposite direction of you.
Canada.
That's the first place I thought of, and then I was like, Canada is it a state?
I could be lying. You never know where I'm from. Oh, you know, but everyone.
I do know. I have an envelope right here from the time that you sent me friendship bracelets that has your address on it, so that I don't have to ask you what your address is if I want to send you something. You know, like you had to do for my Valentine's Day card that I still haven't gotten. I'm totally fine with that fact.
Listen, it got sent on Valentine's Day, okay? I can't make the mail go any faster. It should be there soon, right?
Probably, hopefully. You know, it'd be really great if something sent, Evelyn Hugo.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't worry, my mom's boyfriend brings it up on a semi-regular basis now to guilt me into doing it, so.
Good. He's so real for that. Tell him I said he's so real for that.
Okay, what's your fun fact?
We haven't even, did you introduce yourself?
Yeah, that was my whole fun fact about the nail polish.
I didn't hear you introduce yourself, so, hi, my name is Fish, aka Stingray, and my fun fact of the day is I just finished reading Heartstopper Volume 5 for the first time, and guess what? It's my favorite volume.
Did you watch the reel I sent you of someone painting their...
Bestie, I hate to break it to you, but I've already seen that months ago.
Fuck you.
I appreciate you.
I just tried to be nice. I'm sorry. I am 72nd in line for my loan at the library, okay? I started 114th, and there are currently 91 people waiting.
Well, I just turned mine in, so it'll go a little bit faster.
And there's 20 copies in use.
You know, they gained like 10 of them while I was waiting for them.
They've gained 5 while I've been waiting, so yeah.
I think they have unlimited copies of like the first and second one. I don't know why they haven't got unlimited copies of this one.
The same thing as with the Crave, the first, I think, 3 audiobooks, that they have unlimited copies, but after that, they don't. I'm just like, that's weird, but okay.
I had a very good time.
I can just keep on doing my loan for the second one and not have to worry about someone else wanting it, so. You know, because, like, I could read it, but, like, and then my loan shelf would feel empty.
That's why I read stuff so fast and Libby, because seeing multiple books on the loan shelf stresses me out.
I know, right? This is a very stream of conscious podcast, very similar to how we talk to each other on a daily basis. Another fun fact is I'm pretty sure I just saw the mail go up, which means
there may be a Valentine's Day card.
I may open it in the next episode we record, which will be interesting because that episode doesn't come out until end of March or April. End of April. Today's episode is on Hold Me by Courtney Milan. It is my 4th Courtney Milan I've read. The 3 others have all been I think it's called Brothers Sinister or something like that, series, historical romance series. So this is the first, contemporary romance I've read by Courtney Milan. It's my least favorite, quote unquote, but I rated it 3.5 stars and I liked it. I just prefer her writing style for historical romances, but I still enjoyed it. Okay, I still put the first book in the series because technically this is the second book, but it does say you can read it as a standalone. On my TBR, like, it's a good time. The Fish may have rated it 4.5 stars, and the moral of the story is I can pick gay books, and maybe I should make them part of her normal reading for this podcast. I don't know.
I agree. I did give it 4.5 stars. I've never read a Courtney Milan. This was just an excuse for Rose to get me to read a Courtney Milan. It surprised me. It really did. I didn't think I was going to like it that much, but I did. It was really good.
Reminder, this is self-published because after I think the first few books she published, through traditional publishing, she just self-publishes now.
Hell yeah.
Also,
waiting for the day you'll see that.
Every once in a while, I just remember that Courtney Milan is a lawyer, like a real life lawyer. She like actually worked with the judges, like she was a real life lawyer before. Like writing was her getaway from doing lawyer shit all day long. And then she actually got published, and like after a while she like just like turned it into her career. And remember that whole entire thing where the Megaverse, someone in the Megaverse tried to sue Courtney Milan for copyright infringement, but like there was no basis for it, so Courtney Milan, an actual lawyer, just came out and was like, no, and I laugh every time. It's so funny.
You told me these things, but why was my first thought after you said lawyer turned author was what a girl boss. Like,
I know,
wow.
right?
Why was that my first thought?
But yeah, she's great. I love her. And yes, content warnings. We got sexism, sexual content, grief, bullying, child death, suicide, transphobia, emotional abuse, medical content. I learned about this book within the first week of me watching BookTube. So this was pre-COVID. This is one of the oldest books on my TBR, because I made my Goodreads account right around the time I started watching BookTube. And I put it on my, like, I added it to my TBR very early on. And I learned about it from a Chandler Ainsley video.
Oh.
Because she was all like, it's a good book, good trans representation, and just representation in general, but also the sex scenes. And I was like, okay, seems like my type of thing. Of course, this is right after I read Pestilence. That's why I started to watch BookTube, because I read Pestilence. And then I saw a video of Chandler Ainsley's that had Pestilence. So then I was like, okay, I'll watch this video. And that's when I started to watch BookTube.
I can form sentences today. We have two very different relationships with BookTube, honestly.
I know, right?
I was like 8 years old, okay? Now watching Jessie the Reader, Poe and Banana's books, Katie Tastic, Katie Tastic, them. Those are my OG booktubers. I only watch Jessie now, my beloved. I can't lie.
Yes, I watched Jessie too recently, so. I mean, I've always watched him occasionally, but like he's been coming out with bangers recently, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, all bangers. I'm so proud of him, and he's on the Shorts game lately.
Now, this book, there's two main characters. Let's see if Rose can figure them out. There are Jay and Maria. Jay is the male main character, right? He is. Okay, I know he explains it at one point in the book. I think his dad is Taiwanese, and his mother is from Hong Kong, maybe, but her family lived in Taiwan, and then something like that, right? Something like that.
Well, no, they lived in Thailand at one point because she was technically a Thai citizen, but she's not Thai.
Yes.
She's Chinese.
Yes.
I just finished it yesterday. I know what's going on.
It's been like 2 weeks for me, so. And then Maria is 1, Latinx, and 2, trans. Also, you know what I appreciate? 1, a mixed race romance where neither one of them is white. Did it take me until my adult years when I randomly saw a reel about this, like 2 years ago, to realize that that's like a thing where like every mixed race romance has to have one white person? Like, there's no way it can be the other way around.
Because it's, I quote, technically more digestible, end quote.
Yep. And so, I had to have that pointed out to me, and then I was like, damn. And then I realized how right that was. I was like, god damn it. So we got that. We got the general representation, which is off the cuff. Great. But also, I don't think anyone knows this. Like, I don't think it's just, like, a big thing that people know. I don't see anyone ever talking about this, but Courtney Milan is half Asian.
Yes, you told me that.
Yeah, and so, like, until recently, she was, like, head of a board to do something with diversity and reading and whatnot. So, like, the representation is top tier. But yes, also, their last names are actually Asian/Latina sounding.
Yeah. My favorite part is like
Jay's family is American immigrants. Especially since Jay's family is American immigrants. Like, there's this whole story about his name and how, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his last name is J. Na Dalang. That was horrible. But when his grandfather, I think, immigrated, they wrote down the Na as his middle name.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now that's just a joke. His middle name is technically Na.
Yeah.
I think that's kind
So
of
we have
funny.
good times.
Like, they fucked up, and now it's just like a funny haha.
Yeah. So
But they know.
Jay is only a few years older than Maria, and he's already like a straight up professor, all this stuff, in science academia world, uh, whatnot. And he is good friends with Gabe, who is Maria's brother. Gabe is back in town. It's like a lot of this is, they both have feelings of loneliness. And Jay's is a lot to do with the fact that most of like the friends he's made in academia in the past, they all like move around after they graduate or finish research or whatnot in an area or something like that, because they gotta go to the next place to find like a new position, because finding new positions in the same place is like very hard, all the stuff, right? Which is why he's supposed to feel lucky to have the position he has and all this stuff. You know, the good old normal things. Right? And so he's like old friends with Gabe, and Gabe's back in town to do some research and whatnot. And Gabe's like, hey, because like Maria goes to the college nearby, right? Or in the same college, something like that. And I think she's a senior, and he's all,
Yeah.
I want to have dinner, but like working academia, especially with research, you don't have a lot of time. So it makes more sense to go out with the two people he hasn't seen in a long time, and he's really close with, which are Jay and Maria. And so Gabe's normal thing is that he's always late. And
Yeah.
so he tells Maria to just knock on the door, and the guy will let her in, to say that she's there for Jay. And then the guy will let her in, and then she can just hang out with Jay until Gabe shows up, and then they can go out to dinner together.
LOL.
So Maria knocks on the door to the building. She makes sure it's the right building and everything. Iconic, yes, same. And Jay answers the door, immediately assumes that she is an intern of some kind or something like that, who is interviewing for a position that he was just interviewing people for. And she's like, no, I'm not here for that. Doesn't let her speak.
Is the overall asshole?
Mhm. So there's like a whole thing where he thinks because she puts effort into her looks, she makes sure her hair looks nice, she's wearing makeup, she wears dresses most of the time, and she loves her shoes, right? Her shoe collection.
I also love shoes.
Top tier. At one point, I did message the fish, being like, I swear to God, if they figure it out because of the shoes, and then they fucking did, and then Bessie had to go and read this book and be like, what the hell is she talking about? Shoes. um, it makes sense, especially because I want those fuck off shoes. Okay, they just.
You want the fuck off shoes? I want the fuck me shoes. This is why everything works.
Yes. So, he assumes that, she's there to sell something, or something like that, is very rude to her, just assumes that, like, she is an airhead because she's an attractive woman who puts effort into her look, right? Slams the door in her face, she tries to explain multiple times. And then Gabe shows up. Now, her and Gabe are very, very close. When she came out to their parents when she was 12, they kicked her out. She moved in with her grandma, who is very supportive of her, right? And every day after school, Gabe would drive the 20 to 30 minutes away from wherever he went to school to go and pick her up after class and take her to their grandma's, right? So that they could still hang out. We love a man who's supportive of his sister. Okay. Oh my god, not this. I highlighted a lot of this book, and I'm scrolling through my highlights right now. I feel like I should bring this up. And very beginning of the book, uh, says not says, and I quote, "It's not the first time I've played nice with one of his good guy friends, and it won't be the last. There are a lot of reasons for guys to be dick to me, and I've experienced them all."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Maria. So, that's, Jay and Gabe went to Harvard at the same time. Yeah. So, Gabe shows up, doesn't recognize she's uncomfortable. Knocks on the door. Jay is immediately like, "Hey, dude, so glad you're here." And they're having this cute little conversation, right? And then Gabe's like, "Oh, by the way, this is my sister Maria." Uh, and he goes to explain everything that Jay does, and she's like, "I read his lab posters in the hall after he shut the door in my face. I know what he does."
Mhm.
And then Jay says, "Oh, so you read the posters and you know what I do?" Sure, very heavily hinting that there's no idea that she could know what he does, because she's just an airhead. Yep. Also, he has a British accent. I feel like I have to bring this up now because I
Oh yeah.
will forget. I will forget because his mother went to Oxford, I believe it is.
I think so.
Yep.
And then she worked in there for the for cycling with the company for a
Yeah.
few years, and so he was in school there when he was a kid at a fancy British private school.
There's like this whole thing where she hints that he made some sexist comments.
Sorry, not Ashton releasing music next month too. Jesus Christ. Half a Five Sauce, Xana, Taylor, calm down.
Yeah. So Jay gets this feeling that Maria doesn't like him because of the things that he said to her. And he's all like, "Well, it's okay, because I have 2 female postdocs, 3 female grad students, 6 female co-authors, and countless friends. And therefore my record speaks for itself. I have no self-doubt. I am a feminist."
Yeah, that made me roll my eyes.
I can't wait to put the mirror in front of his face at the later part of the book. Because trust me, this bitch gets self-doubt really fast when he realizes, oh shit, dude. So they walk to the place where
I
they're
didn't. Okay, listen. I didn't like this. Like I didn't think we are gonna jump headed, and then we did. And for like the first 20-ish%, I was struggling, but after that, I was like, ooh. Anyway.
Hello?
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 Did you hear
Hello?
anything I said?
Yeah, I'm just saying weird noises.
Okay. I was recording.
So, they walk to the restaurant. He questions if that's a good idea because she's wearing heels.
Now you want to be considerate. Like,
I
shut
know,
the
right?
fuck up.
Men, I would like to tell you a secret. If you wonder if a woman, after a woman already says she's down to walk somewheres, is able to walk somewheres in heels, one, she's already done the math in her head and figured, yes, she can walk in those heels, she just said so. And two, there's a high chance she regularly has to wear heels or chooses to wear heels, and therefore is used to it. And so, while if you tried to wear those heels, you would trip and fall on your face every 5 seconds. She knows what she's doing, and just respect her what she already said and that she said. Anyways, so
it's kind of difficult to understand.
I know, right? My favorite part is that he likes to put things in lists. So they're walking to the restaurant, and he's like, something's bothering me. First of all, Maria does not talk to me. He's all like, I get it. My response, yeah, no, right? He's like, I get it. My response to her earlier left much to be desired. But she doesn't talk to him at all. And instead talk to her brother, talks to Gabe about their grandmother who lives nearby, a band they both like, and his wedding plans, because now he's engaged. He got engaged while he was abroad, and every one of his friends thinks it's weird, and that he shouldn't be getting married. He should be focusing on his career and all this stuff. And literally the only person in his life who supports this is Maria and his grandmother. Like, she's all like, I've talked to her. She's nice. I like her. Like, the way that everyone's just like, why are you getting married? That's Dom's decision. And Maria's just like, oh my god, she's so nice.
Yeah.
Like, on one occasion, Maria and her are just talking on the phone, like FaceTiming.
Yeah, they do that very often.
Which, like, makes sense when the closest member of your family, one of your closest members of your family is your brother. It makes sense that you want to be close with his significant other. So it makes sense. But the fact that everyone is just like, how the fuck dare he? Uh, so a second thing that annoys, Jay is what Maria is saying. Uh, so, and I quote, I'm not sure how serious, thoughtful Gabe ended up with a sister
Share
who
this
was
particular highlight from Hold Me.
I know. Ended up with a sister who is bugging him about wedding plans in one breath, then asking him about some movie in the next. She's like a pond skater, flitting from topic to topic, scarcely touching the surface and skimming away without diving into any depth. We, as a reader, understand that they talk on, like, a regular basis at least once a week on the phone. So, like, they probably talk about the deep stuff not in front of you, a person she's ever met, and has already been extremely rude to her. My dude. This is just them catching up on just, like, everyday conversation stuff, okay? Like, calm down.
Also, we got a Taylor Swift mention, and then he's like, he says Britney Spears later on, and he's like, I know they were talking about Britney Spears, but Britney Spears. I'm like,
let Britney live, my dude. Just let her live. The third thing, is that he's really attracted to her.
Legs, man, legs, I agree.
He's all like, she's attractive, but more than that. Something far more invasive. She's interesting to look at.
I feel like if someone called me interesting to look at, I wouldn't know how to take that, because I feel like that could go either way.
I know, right? The fourth thing that annoys him is Maria's shoes. It's a mile walk that they're doing, and he's like, how dare she wear pink heels?
Like,
and she's also, she is walking fast. Like, she's keeping up pace with him, and he has a purposely fast pace. And she's keeping up with him. One, she's used to it. Two, she likes heels, let her live her life. Three, she's already naturally tall. So.
4, LGBT.
I know, right? Also, she does this thing where she buys nice shoes, and then nice, like, expensive shoes, and then customs them to her taste. So these pink heels have bright silver studs in them.
The white kitten heels that were mentioned at one point with the little translucent beads and stuff sound so pretty.
I know, right? Bright silver studs that flash the light every time she walks. Which means he's looking at her shoes, and he shouldn't have to look at her shoes, and her calves, and the 6 inches of thigh visible below her skirt. And then he's also just watching her ass, because the shoes she's wearing, obviously. Number 5... Number 5 that really annoys him is that Gabe is a really good friend to him, and the last thing he wants Gabe to do is realize that he's checking out Maria.
I mean, at least he has some sense of something, right?
I know, right? Number 6, so at one point in the dinner, both Maria and Gabe go to the bathroom. Maria comes back first. And that's what annoys him. That she dared to come back first. Like, and I quote, if there were any fairness to the universe, she would have taken an extra 5 minutes to redo her lipstick, or whatever women like her do.
And then she just went at the table, which, LOL.
I know, right? And the 7th reason why Maria is incredibly annoying, I was really looking forward to having Gabe around for a year. Now you may be wondering, hey, why are we liking this man? 1, later part of the book. 2, this is what I call the Pride and Prejudice effect, Or sometimes the Jane Austen effect, because I've read, I think, 4 of her books now, and a lot of them have a similar thing, where, one of them, not particularly a good person, not like a horrible person, but sometimes like not the nicest and whatnot, and thanks to having a conversation, meeting someone, usually the love interest in the book, having a conversation and that person being honest with them, they recognize their downfalls and what they do and say that can cause issues, and make effort to change that. Not particularly for that other person, but then, then they're like, hey, I made changes. And that's when, happily ever after, thank you very much, Pride and Prejudice, do you ever just think about Pride and Prejudice? I almost rewatched it the other night. It would have been the first time for the year, so, it's fine. So yeah, that's what happens. It's the Jane Austen effect, okay? In his head, he is annoyed that, the real reason why he's annoyed is that he's really busy, and he had to just spend 10 minutes listening to one of his friends argue with his little sister about Taylor Swift. And that she's at the table, and Gabe is not.
Boo-hoo.
So he goes, I'll make a deal. I'll apologize to you for being a jerk earlier if you'll stop distracting your brother.
Huh?
And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And then he's like, she doesn't even know. Her cluelessness is item 8. That's why I'm annoyed. God, I hate him so much at the beginning. The way that Courtney Milan makes him redeemable is just... I'm telling you, the Jane Austen effect.
I don't know about that nonsense, but,
I'm sorry, did you, before the call cut itself out, did you get to hear my whole entire monologue about Jane Austen?
I heard the majority of it.
Okay.
Still.
Okay. So he says, this is the most important year of his life. He needs to continue to turn the last 2 years of his work into papers, all while impressing his current principal investigator. He needs to come up with a viable research agenda and practice defending it. Gabe has a shot at the holy grail of tenure track job. He doesn't need to waste his time thinking about Britney Spears. She just says, and he's all like, you're not gonna answer? And so she says, again. And he compares her to a parakeet, entranced with her own reflection. And then she says, if I have to bargain for your apology, it doesn't really mean anything, does it?
Exactly.
And then he tells her that, you took a selfie with your brother, you're a girly girl, you care about your hair and clothes and pop culture. I've seen too many of my good friends struggle to get jobs. You don't know this market?
They took a selfie, get over yourself.
And so, she says, I'm average and you only respect people 3 standard deviations above the mean. I don't make the cut. And then he's like, I didn't say that. And she's like, sure you did. 3 sigma back in your lab right as you were throwing me out. I'm just saying, she eats up, okay? She eats up.
She really does. She's so real.
I love her so much. I just remembered there's glow-in-the-dark sharks in this book.
Oh my god, yes. I want to see this shark. I wish this shark was real. Also, the word transgenetic shark is just so funny to me.
I've read that, and I instantly went, stingray? I'm sorry, you go buy fish, and you like water things. You telling me, and you're non-binary, okay? You got 3 for 3. You just gotta glow in the dark
too.
You gotta put those glow-in-the-dark stars all over you.
I mean, I do have them on my ceiling.
So do I. I'm looking directly at them.
We're adults.
I know, right? So she puts on a slow, silky, seductive voice and says, let me help you hate me. I also read romance novels. I've watched every part of Twilight, in the theater even, though I was Team Jacob, which... We can have a conversation about that, Maria. I get it in the books, Team Jacob, especially in the first 2, is much more understandable. Okay?
But also...
because he's 6 foot and dark, okay?
But also, the fact that he's just a child makes all his actions more understandable in my eyes.
It's like when you watch the Avengers and then you remember that in Asgardian years, Loki's like 18, 16, 18, something obscene like that. Like he's basically a disgruntled teenager, and then all his actions just make sense.
I mean,
You know?
Jacob is 14 when Twilight starts, and he's 17 at the end.
That's so wild. He's 14, God.
Yeah.
So that
Like,
means he
that's
only
a
has to wait
child.
2
Like,
years for Renesmee to catch up.
oh my god.
I almost spit out my own coffee laughing at my joke. Okay, continuing the quote, if you think that girly girl is an insult to me, you're wrong. I am a girl and I'm proud of it. And then he's like, I don't have a problem with women, just you.
Like,
And then,
serious.
I know, right? And then she's like, you know what you do have a problem with? You're not my brother's boss. You're not his owner. You're his friend. If he wants to come with me to every Britney Spears concert in the country, it's none of your business. You don't get to come between us. That's not your place, now or ever. So take your 99.7 percentile intelligence and shove it. And then, of course, this is when Gabe comes up behind them, coming back from the bathroom, and he's like, dude, Jay, what did you say? You made Maria mad. How dare you? Iconic. I love him. Thank you. The way he comes back and hears Maria talking back to Jay and immediately is like on his sister's side, like, what the fuck did you do?
Like, yeah.
So, of course, Jay is thinking to himself about how attractive Maria is and how, it can't work out between them even if he was into her because, it's not because she's out of his league. Oh god, she is? My dude? Have you seen those legs? But he's all like, it's the very concept of a league makes no sense because we're not playing the same sport.
Like, shut up. You think she's hot.
I know,
like,
right? And he's all like, I'm more of a pickup basketball kind of guy. I don't fucking know what that is. And she's into whatever game you play with a French manicure and Louboutins.
This is the moment where I say, I don't like French tips, but every design ever is French tip.
I know, right? And then he's all like, maybe I could collapse reason 8 why she annoys me into this. Mario reminds him of his ex.
Oh, yeah. That
Cleo.
bitch.
Cleo was blonde, about 6 inches shorter. But the big impression, she had the same air of polished perfection, the same awareness in her eyes when she caught me looking. Yeah. And then Gabe tells him not to be mean to his sister. And she says, don't bother, he's too busy to be reprimanded.
Thinking back, this was so good. I didn't want to give it 5 stars because I give everything 5 stars, so I just gave it 4.5.
Okay, so this is when he goes home and he starts texting M. Now you may be wondering, who's M? So there's this post-apocalyptic type blog, run by someone called MCL.
Like, honestly, she wasn't like that.
I know, right? He calls her M. And they text, he left a comment about the signs she did in one of her posts, and ever since they've been DMing, but they don't share pictures, they don't describe what they look like, they don't know where the other ones live, but they basically have a very flirty relationship. But he's also like, I don't have time for that, but also still, like, flirting with her, and then getting mad when she flirts back to him. It's this whole weird thing. Cough, cough, MCL. It's pretty obvious when I tell you Maria, I forget her middle name, but starts with a C, Lopez.
I think it's Camilla.
That sounds about right.
Camilla? I don't know. Camilla?
Anyways, M is Maria. It takes them, I want to say 70% of the book to figure this out. I feel like that's wrong. I think it's closer to 50. I think it's like 55.
It's like 70, like 60, 70%.
Yeah. So most of this book is them DMing each other, not knowing that they're each other, being in love with
like,
the other one. Like, they've been talking
for, like, almost 2 years at this point.
Yeah. But in real life, each other, they are basically butting heads constantly. He views M in his mind as self-conscious, a little hesitant in real life, short, shies away from eye contact, wears jeans and hoodies, and she doesn't smile often. I'd like everyone to know he does on occasion get himself off at his visions of her.
Which, bit odd.
A bit odd. My favorite part about that is, like, he could not be further away from what Maria looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been talking for 18 months at this point in the book, in the very beginning. One of the few things he knows about her is that she's close to her grandmother, and that high school sucked for her. And so, they're texting about the dinner. Like, she's messaging him about the dinner, not knowing that she's messaging the guy about the dinner. You get what I'm saying. And she's all like, I had a bad night, and I've decided I was not wrong, the other guy was at fault. And he says, I'm sure he was what a dick. She says, you don't even know any details. All this stuff, and he says that my money is on you in any deathmatch you choose to participate in. Yep. Okay, so, time passes. They basically ignore each other whenever they, like, accidentally, come across each other. 'Cause, like, from what I understand, it's, like, a college town and whatnot. And so, like, when that happens, a lot of the people there are people who are either professors there, people who go there, or people who have recently graduated. And so they run into each other a lot. That's just a thing that has to happen. As someone who went to college in a college town, when you break up with someone, it gets very awkward every time you have to walk into them in the hallway.
That's kind of funny, I can't lie.
So they pretend they don't know each other, to handle this. Which is a decision. Right? And then, one day, I think she's crossing the street, right? And he literally, I think she's actually messaging, the actual physicist, which is his online persona on the DMs stuff, right? So I think she's actually messaging him when he runs into her, like, straight up runs into her, and so he crouches down to, like, help her pick up her things, and that's when he realizes, oh shit, it's you, and then says,
that was funny as hell.
When he recognizes, like, he's all down to help until he realizes it's Maria, and he's like, what were you doing? Watch where you're going. What were you doing? Taking a selfie?
Like, he's serious.
She understands that the fact that she is attractive pisses him off, and she loves that.
I would too.
I know, right? But to, like, counteract that, he's like, beauty standards are shit. And she's all like, yeah, they are. Apparently, so are manners.
Oh. Yeah.
And then she tells him, sorry I bumped into you. Would have been another way to respond. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Iconic. Now, is when we bring in Ange. Ange is someone who was best friends with Maria, and then, they decide to, co-rent an apartment. And they just run into each other for the first time in, like, 3 years, I want to say. The main thing
about this friendship.
Basically, Ange feels bad, but, like, doesn't understand what was horrible about the experience. Basically, Maria, thanks to being kicked out by her parents at the age of 12, has some issues when it comes to location security. I know, right? To do with location security. And so, on top of Ange being a really messy roommate who would leave dirty dishes just wherever she was eating at, and all this stuff, on top of that, she had for one of her science experiments, glow-in-the-dark shark, right? And the landlord said, get rid of this shark, and then Ange said, I'm good, I'm gonna keep it anyways, to the point where at one point, Maria literally had to jump out a window to get away from the landlord.
Yeah.
Mixed with her issues with having been kicked out in the past and stuff like that, and wanting location security. Understandable. She's not the yeah. So that's why they were. She really did not like being roommates with Ange. So also there's another thing where Ange comes from like money and doesn't understand whenever Maria says that like she needs to do something for work, or she like at one point Maria was like working part-time while going to school, and Ange was like, why are you doing that? You can just focus on school. And like other things, and like how putting wanting to get, you know how like you have to put down payment, not down payment, but deposit down, that if when you move out of the apartment, if everything is still like nice, you get your deposit back, right? That
Right.
thing. And Ange did not understand why having the apartment still being the same state it was in when they left, so they can get their deposit back, was a big deal to Maria. I really hate Ange, can you tell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the cool thing about Ange is her glow in the dark shark. And the fact she did that by herself.
Yes. So, also on top of that, Ange just really just ups Maria's anxiety to a new level. And I understand having a friend like that, and girl, I understand you in so many ways. So, for the first 2 years of college life, Maria worked in a bookstore, but the summer before junior year, the blog took off, and makes enough money to survive off of, while she finishes off school, but also recognizes it's not going to be enough to make a living once she graduates, on top of, like, insurance bills, because, like, I'm assuming you need good insurance to take your medications. As a trans woman, yeah, I get that. And then, she briefly talks about that too. And then, student loan payments and all this stuff, and rent possibly. So,
the real
like,
question
technically
is,
it makes more money than working at the bookstore, but she needs to find a way to have a career in her, preferably in her degree, and then in doing that, because that will get her more money, but in doing that, she'll not have enough time to do her blog, so it's like the last year she can do her blog, and it really upsets her. Hello, hi. There were technical difficulties somewhere in here. I don't know who it was. It was me. It actually was my computer. The way the recording, it just sometimes just doesn't register that you stopped recording until much later. Much later. You gotta, like, completely go into Task Manager. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm not stressed about this. I don't know what you think. Anyways, we were talking about Maria's blog.
I think we're getting a chicken nugget.
So she started the blog when she was 18, right after high school, because she planned to take a few years off before starting college to make enough money for, surgery and hormones. Valid, 100% understandable, get it. Which is why she's, like, 25 or something, and graduating. Jay has thoughts and opinions about that.
Valid anyways.
I know, right? I feel like we should normalize people taking more than a year of a gap year, taking more than 4 years to graduate, or going back to school at a later point in life. All these things should be normalized. Thank you very much.
Having a quote not normal life should be normalized.
So, her high school chemistry teacher, I feel like, well, you haven't heard this, but everyone who, I feel like it was like a normal thing in my high school where, like, people who were like, I'm taking a gap year, everyone was like, that's a bad idea, because then you won't go back to school, and how dare you not go to school, and all this stuff, right? And basically a similar thing is what her high school chemistry teacher told her, but in a nicer way, saying, if you, aren't careful, you'll lose the habit of learning and not want to go back, right? And so that's why she started her blog, because her blog makes her constantly learn new things. Which is why it takes her a shit ton of time.
I think that's totally incorrect. Because obviously, we're not in school. I haven't been in school way too long, you know? But I learn things every day. This book taught me so many new words, and there's some I already knew, but I wasn't, sure about. And I just held down the little button and hit define because Libby, and it's like, this is what this means. And then there's already words that I knew what they meant because of Taylor Swift. Anyways, I'm talking about Gauche, okay?
Yes, I feel like we should normalize, like, just learning new things in your life, like, taking the time to learn new things, right? So, Tina's an important character. Tina is, Maria's best friend slash roommate. She lives with Tina and her boyfriend. He has like a condo, right? And so Tina was like, I want to move in with him. And so Maria was like, I guess I'll move. Like offered for Maria to move into, and she was like, I guess I'll move into in case you break up. Then you have someone there. But things have been going strong for a while. Tina and her boyfriend, I did check this after I finished this book, are the couple from the first book. So, Tina and Ange hate each other. And by that, I mean Ange never remembers Tina's name. Like, every time Tina has to retell her name, which is, just kind of gives me classism vibes. Especially since Tina is, I'm pretty sure, Asian. I know for a fact that her boyfriend is white, and I know for a fact the cover has an Asian woman on the cover. So I'm gonna go with that she's Asian. Right? I know why.
The way there's only, like, what, 3 white characters max?
I know, right?
I giggle.
So, yeah, that's one, on top of all the shit that Maria had to go through being roommates with Ange, that's, like, the main reason why Tina does not like Ange. Ange doesn't remember Tina, right? Though there is a thing where, her boyfriend and Ange's parents both work for the same company, Cyclone, which is the name of the series, which is, like, the Apple, but, like, if Apple was on top, like, even higher than it is now, right, of this universe, and cough, cough.
It's like if Google and Apple had a baby.
I know, right? Cough, cough, Jay's mother also is, like, a big honcho person at Cyclone, right? So, oh my god, I just saw a quote that just, your favorite part. Anyways, Tina, there's a thing where Tina says, Maria gives everyone 4 chances to fuck up before she really trusts them, and she hopes that she's joking, but doesn't believe in unconditional anything. If she's learned anything from her parents, unconditional love isn't a thing. She only believes in... I know, right? She only believes in conditions she has yet to discover. Which, valid with your history, I get it, but also, can someone please just give her a hug?
Yeah, I agree, but I understand it, but at the same time, I try to believe that unconditional love is a thing. But it's hard!
So, we're back to Jay's point of view. And he's working late right now, late-ish, when one of the other professors, tenure professors, comes to his office door. I think they're, like, glass office, I don't know. And this man is white, and it happens to be Jay is listening to hip-hop or rap, I don't remember which one.
He's listening to Hamilton.
Yes, and, which iconic, yes. And this random white man who he worked with says, I thought Asians didn't like black people. When Bestie sent me a screenshot of that yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I remember that scene, don't worry. I had to read, like, 2 words, and I was like, ah, yes, that scene. Yeah, there's, like, this whole point about how, like, dude, what the fuck? But, like, he can't say dude, what the fuck, because, like, he has to play nice in order to get, like, tenure and all this stuff. And this guy is trying to, like, seem hip and cool with him and, like, get along with, like, the minority in the department.
You know, I don't know what half of this shit means, but, like, between this and the love hypothesis, I don't know what half this shit means. I'm just like,
when you get tenure, one, it means that you have your position, right? Basically, like, adjunct professors, which I assume is what Jay is, adjunct professors, they can choose to just, like, next semester not have you back, right? And also are paid way more. Way more. Adjunct professors are paid basically nothing. Yeah. So that's a whole thing. Which is why getting tenure is like a big deal in these type of things, right? That just reminds me of the second book in the Brown Sisters trilogy. That book was so good. Anyways, the way my brain works sometimes, can you tell I may be neurodivergent?
No, no one could ever tell. No one ever, that thought never crossed anybody's mind. No one could ever tell. We're so normal.
We are so normal. Yeah, he's just like, okay, whatever. As this man is trying to be hip and cool towards Jay, and Jay's just like, what the fuck? And then so he's talking.
I was also like, what the fuck?
He's talking to his co-author of the most recent research that he's done, who is a woman who lives in, I think, Australia with her husband and kids and whatnot. And he's all
her name is Jessica, which, hell yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? So he's thinking about her and also M, because I think he knows that M is into science in some way, right? Which is how we get to him thinking, I know enough about issues of women in STEM to be able to imagine exactly why some asshole men would think she was a freak who didn't belong. I doubt she gets enough credit for her intelligence where she works. Yeah. That's what he's thinking when M says, I have to deal with asshole men sometimes. Good times. So this comes up with the fuck off shoes. You're at the part with the fuck off shoes. Yes. Where she's all like, I have to wear my fuck, and he's all like, what are fuck off shoes? And so she explains that in some way, the shoes are about everything everyone ever told her. She wears them to remind herself that everyone who said that people like her couldn't wear shoes like this was wrong. She is feminine, she is pretty, she can wear heels, and doesn't care if it makes her 6'2".
Okay, but like,
give me a tall ass woman wearing fancy ass shoes any day.
Yes. I've heard I've heard of fuck me shoes before, and I still don't understand what fuck me shoes are. I don't.
Listen, sometimes people like Jay go, before he takes them off, tell me yourself. And then you scream at me, and then I go, yeah, I knew when I read that part, you were gonna love it, and then you go, wow, you know too much about me.
You really do, because how did you know?
I literally read that, I was like, that's so fish-coded scroll.
Listen, you shouldn't know that. You shouldn't know that. Like,
listen, as someone who just edited the death episode, which is the episode before this one, so continuity is perfectly fine by me saying this. The fact that it's been like a month since we recorded that, and you just randomly start talking about bondage, and then I go, what the fuck? And then you go, why wouldn't we talk about bondage? Is very telling.
Very telling about what, Betsy?
It's very telling. Mostly about your personality. Also, sometimes I would like everyone to know that Fish sometimes in the middle of the night sends me Instagram reels of beautiful women, and then goes, I am no better than a man.
I really am.
So I have to wake up at like, I wake up at 6 in the morning to these messages, and I'm just like, alright.
Hey, did you know I'm gay? Did you know that I like women?
Yes.
Anyways,
the shoes are a fuck off to the voices she heard all her childhood telling her that she couldn't. Which, iconic? Yes. Now this is the point where I explain what the shoes look like. I believe they are Louboutins, actually. They are red Louboutins. She buys them, like, secondhand, right? So they're cheaper.
Louboutins.
I know, right? And then she, I
don't even know where that's from.
I know, right? She put, I forget what kind of gemstone on them, but also, some dangly gold butterfly charms. So imagine strappy red heels with gold butterfly charms. If that doesn't explain me and what I need in a shoe, I don't know what does.
I just think that those shoes would be hot.
Yeah. So this is when we learn that Jay's father writes literary
What?
fiction, uh, and he hasn't read any books since Jay turned 19 because he's afraid of what he'll find in it. There's some stuff with Jay and a sad time in his life. Cough, cough, suicide content warning. um,
I figured it out very early on.
I know it's pretty obvious. As soon as he brought up his brother, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Um, since then, also we have the Great Line. We have, I never worry that I'll never disappoint them these days. You can't disappoint people who have no expectations. Um, yeah. So I'm pretty sure this is when he like calls up his parents or his mom calls him or something, and they're supposed to meet up. But then he's all like, actually, I don't have time. And she's all like, that's fine. And never like actually tries to make him visit them, and they never like call each other that much. And she's like, but you have to come to the party, right? And he's like, okay, fine, I'll come to the company party that he's supposed to go to. But he hates going to. Uh, so
Valid.
his dad's most successful book came out when he was a junior in college, and it's followed him everywhere. Literally, he takes it everywhere. It's in his office. Uh, every once in a while, he will pull it out and open the cover and just not read it. And he'll tell himself that he will read it, and then when he has more time, and then he just puts it away. Um,
You know, I wonder what your most successful book would be if you would write them.
I have no clue what you're talking about. Um, the book is about a man who lost his child. He read the dedication the day it came out and then put it down. And ever since then, he's made sure he's too busy to read it. Which I get the sentiment of I filled every hour as fully as I possibly can to make sure that I don't have time to read it. Like I get that, I get it, I get it. Um, and then he internally states that he's fucked up really bad his senior year, beyond all forgiveness. Uh, this is what he's explaining to M
Relatable.
actually. After that, his parents stopped having any expectations of him at all. Uh,
People not having expectations of you is nice, but also heartbreaking.
um, yeah, so M replies that there was a point in her life when all she needed to hear was that you are enough, just as you are. And so that's what she's like, I'm gonna say them to you. You are enough just as you are. And he's like walking home at this point, and he literally is looking at his phone and doesn't understand. Like that concept does not make sense to him.
Real.
Um, so hey, you may be wondering about Maria's career choices after college. She likes the idea of doing worldwide risk consultations and getting paid for it. Uh, but like there's this whole thing where she doesn't want to dream big because like the letdown of not being able to reach it and whatnot.
Me. Like, why was this so fucking relatable? Like,
I know, right? Um, so good times. Maria is nice to Jay at one point, and Jay is literally thinking, even in so limited a fashion, it makes me feel like more of a dick than ever. Um, this is when she informs him that she is graduating this year. She's a senior, and he's all like, wait a second, you don't have a bachelor's yet? I hate this part. So he's hanging out with her and her brother. I don't remember the context this time around. There's a lot of times. Oh, you know what it is? It's where Gabe gives them like this whole like pre-run of a presentation. Jay brings along one of his students who happens to also be Latina.
Rachel.
Uh-huh. And so they're sitting talking after like the first part of the presentation. And he's also very surprised that she's like actually giving good advice to Gabe. This man's right. So they're sitting there talking, and they immediately start bickering. Good times. Um, So he's all like, "You don't have a bachelor's yet? I didn't realize that there was much of an age difference between you and your brother. Was that 9 years?" And then she, feeling uncomfortable, knowing how he's gonna react to this, says 3 years. She's 24, and then he says,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I see. You're just slow."
Like, shut the fuck up! I'm in your walls. Like,
Um. So, after a bit of bickering back and forth, some of his sexual innuendos about how the only person he has to love or give him pleasure is his own hand. Iconic. I love you, Maria.
that whole conversation,
But afterwards, he's all like, "I won. I feel satisfied. I made my point." But then, like, he then realizes, this again another list of things. First, that Rachel, his student that he brought along, is uncomfortable. He's all like, some people don't like conflict, and apparently she's one of them. And he recognizes that every time they like would start bickering again, she would try to stop it and change the topic and whatnot. There's like this whole part where like they're talking about lasers, and Maria knows a weird amount about lasers, and he's like, "Why do you know so much
I thought
about
that was
lasers?"
hilarious.
And it's like, because as a person who read the blog, she had to learn all this stuff about lasers, but she's all like, "That's my brother's point of study. Of course, I'm gonna like learn some of it, right? Right? Because he's gonna talk about it all the time." But he's all like, "Oh, Maria, or not Maria, Rachel's trying to uh stop the bickering, and that didn't turn out well." Second thing that he recognizes is that Maria is hot, and she knows it.
Mm-hmm. As she should.
And he doesn't, he thinks that she's purposely licking pizza sauce off her thumb seductively to annoy him.
Bro, like, it's not that
It's
deep.
not all about you,
Yes.
right? Third thing he recognizes, which is a sucker punch to the gut. We are exactly 25% of the way through the book. I feel like I should mention when I say this. He recognizes he made some assumptions about Maria when they first met. She was hot. She knew it. She talked about concerts.
Like, what's wrong with concerts?
I
Like,
know, right? And then she taunted him about being average. Um, and how she's not good enough for him because she's only average and all that taunting, right? But she's not. She's smart. Almost as smart as she is hot, and she knows it. And he had preconceived notions beforehand. He's like, fuck. So it takes 25% of the book for him to get there. Um, um, at one point, I think Gabe's like thanking everyone for coming and helping, and Jay's like, "Of course, we're all on the same team." And Maria gives him a sidelong, uh, glance and says, "Are we all on the same team? I didn't notice."
you know?
Um, so, there's this whole thing, right, where, because of the security in the building that they're in, only certain people with, like, key cards or whatever can get through, and they have to sign other people in, so he had to sign Maria in. That was, like, a whole big thing. As well as Rachel, so Rachel already left, and whatnot, I think, on her own. I think she had a key card, I'm assuming, if she's, like, an intern in the field or something like that, right? Um, but because he had to sign Maria in, he has to make sure that she doesn't like do anything crazy if she leaves, so he has to leave with her. And so they're leaving together, walking down this steep hill, and she's just like she's doing fine walking down it in heels, and he's like, "Oh my god, how dare she?" And so then he looks at her and he crosses his arms and says, "Fine, I owe you an apology." Um, so there may
Great
be a chance.
apology.
I know, right? There may be a chance that Maria claps back. I know, surprise. She says, "You're a goddamn professor. If you assume your female students who care about their appearances don't know math, you're doing them an incredible disservice. Um, that's sexist and gross, and I have friends in STEM." And, uh, she plans to go on a rant, but then she's like, I don't have time, and I don't want to put the energy into going into this rant to this guy who's been a jerk to me, and took him 25% of the way through this book to recognize it. Based off of some sexist views, so um and so then he also it's starting to rain, right? And he's all like, "Are you done?" And she says no because it shouldn't matter, saying, "I didn't know you knew math, so I'm sorry I treated you like a non-person." It's also fucked up. People who don't know math also deserve respect. And then he's all like,
Yeah.
"Of course." But coldly, and she's like, I'm pretty sure at this point he has to like drive her home because it's raining too. Oh my god. And then she brings up, God, this is great. She brings up, you know who you really messed with back there? Rachel. And he's like, bullshit. And she says, because you just sent her a really clear message, 3 Sigma, the nickname, she's going to wonder if you'll turn on her if she shows up to lab looking nice because she has a date. She spent an hour and a half listening to you make fun of another Latina, and she was so upset that she left halfway through. She has to work with you. How is she ever supposed to trust you again?
Mhm.
He does, after they go their separate ways, sit down and go, ah, shit, dude. So
Oh my god, nearly fucked it up.
there is that. Now here's this great line. Another screenshot that the fish sent me while they were reading it yesterday. That I did highlight, and so I get to quote it directly at you. And I quote, "I want him to want me because I want him to not have me. I want him to know that I'm completely, utterly out of his league. That there's nothing he can do that will ever make things better.
Mhm.
I want him to regret being a jerk to me. I want him to beg me for forgiveness for misjudging me. And when he does, I want to squash him like the cockroach that he is and walk out of his life." Of course, I
Yeah,
think we all recognize I am a Maria stan.
I thought that was like a tiny bit intense, but you know.
I feel like Maria could do no wrong. She is just a tall, beautiful woman who could step on me in those heels, and I'd say thanks. And
Girl,
if you didn't
you know,
already know that about me,
like I agree, but like
so Jay in his brain, internal monologue, is like, shit, oh my god, this whole time I've considered myself one of the good guys. My first grad student was female, my study groups always had women in them. My perpetual co-author had to cancel our last in-person work session because our daughter got pneumonia, and that's just the way things are. His mother has a master's in computer science, and saw all the things she went through, all the bullshit she went through, in her career. And I quote, "I believe in birth control and expanded the STEM pipeline. And damn it, I think of myself as a feminist."
mhm.
And then he's like, until Maria literally pulled the mirror in front of my face and told me exactly the ways that I was wrong, I didn't realize how wrong I was. Iconic. So then he messages M, and he's like, I feel like I was a shitty person to this woman. It doesn't give details, of course, but like basic. Now, of course, Maria on the other side of the phone is currently upset with everything that just went down with Jay. So instead of being like, it's okay, it's not your fault, she says, and I quote, "I know I should be a good friend or something and tell you it's okay, but you know what? Maybe it's not okay, and maybe it's your fault, and maybe I'm not going to be your magical female scientist friend right now. If you fucked up, don't whine to me about it. Do better next time. Now I feel shittier than ever because that's exactly what I wanted her to." Oh yeah, he's all like, damn, she right too. Because I did want her to make me feel better. Why are you sending me Kit Connor's story?
Why, what my view for the UK Connor story? You don't want to see Beloved?
Of course I want to see Beloved. That's why I follow him. Um, and so, yeah, he's asked back, you know what, you're right, I'm just going to shut up, because he feels bad, because you know what, he was going to use his female scientist friend to make him feel better about being rude to a female scientist.
Mhm. Funny how that works.
Yeah. he sees that Maria is video chatting with someone. I don't remember. I think it's actually with Gabe's fiance. And his first thought, purely dismissive, is of course Maria's the kind of person who video chats. And then he's like takes a second to stop and think. He's like, ah, shit, I did it again. He's like, I've been trying to do better since Cleo called me out. He apologized to Rachel, told her he messed up. And didn't explain everything to do with Cleo and his preconceived notions due to her, and how he put Maria against Cleo in his head because of that. He's trying to do better. And then he imagines what M would say to him if he told him the preconceived notions he has, and then recognizes that M would call him to tell him to get over it and how he's wrong, and so that's how he knows that he's in the wrong. I love how she's working on him on two sides to make him into a better person, to mold him into a better person. He doesn't even know it.
You know, this is kind of how I think things through, but there's no M/Maria. It's just people in my head. That sounds like I hear voices.
Blah blah blah. When Jay was at Harvard, he was dating a postdoc, named Dave. Yes, this is the point where we learn Jay is bi.
Hell yeah.
It's just brought out of left field. It starts using he, him pronouns for this person, and then it's like Dave, and then I'm just like, wait a second, what the fuck?
I was like,
It's just like brought out of left field, and it's just a thing. And it's just like, I love it when characters are just like, especially male characters, are just bi. It's just a thing that they are. Like, more than one occasion I've read a book where the male main character is just like bi, and like, it's just a thing about them, and then life moves on. And I'm just like, thank you for giving me this representation that I needed. 2 sentences about this man flirting with another man at a bar, and then deciding that he is into this woman he's been flirting with from his past. Yay. Yes, this postdoc named Dave, they were dating, for like 5 months. And then, they broke up because of academic stuff. So specifically, he got a job in Berkeley, which I think is where this takes place. But he was also offered a job in Pittsburgh, where Dave had just landed a multi-year contract. He didn't even think about the decision. He wanted me to think about it, and that ended badly, really badly. So like, he just immediately went for the decision that made best for him, instead of going for the one that put him closer to the guy he'd been dating for a few months, which, like, valid. I get that. I get that mindset.
Like,
it's only been he's all like, it wasn't even a year, so like, it made no sense for me to make a decision based off of this man and all this stuff. And I'm like, I get it. You could have been nicer about it, probably, but I get it.
I mean, this isn't, I'm talking about this, like, it implies that I'm not a U-Haul lesbian, but I feel like, I'm like, yeah, no, it's just a few months, but I would be like, oh, hell yeah, they were actually me. I don't know, though. I don't know how I would react in that situation.
So,
I hope I'd be normal about it.
This is important because he's thinking about M and how he's really into M. And he's all like, Dave was into me more than I was into him, and it turns out that's not fun for anyone involved, thinking that
it's really not.
He's more into M than she is into him. And then he's all like, I couldn't start a relationship with anyone else while I'm still wondering what M looks like. So, at this point, we already, as audience members, know that not only is the Cyclone Party that Maria is being forced to go to with Tina and her boyfriend, because her boyfriend's parent, like, father, like, owns a company or a CEO or something like that. Big headshot, right? And so, Tina also has to go because she's, like, the girlfriend, but, like, she's gonna be pushed aside because everyone's gonna be focusing on him, and so she makes Maria go with her so that she has someone to hang out with at the same time. And we, as the audience, knows that Jay's parents are the one who are throwing the party.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jay has not arrived at this point, but Maria and Tina are already there. They run to Ange. Ange is like, wait, who are you? To Tina. And then they're talking to a bunch of people about some sciencey stuff, specifically about the glow-in-the-dark shark. And then Ange asks her a question that heavily hints at Maria being the one running her blog. Because it's like her secret identity, and it's like she knows one of the people there reads her blog, because like he literally asked, hey, do you want to co-work on your blog on a post together or something like that. So she's like, Angie's like, oh, sorry, and Maria's like immediately panic attack in case someone figures it out, like what Ange said and all this stuff. Yeah.
Please.
So, like, literally the line, she just got so carried away by her damn shark that she almost did give her away. It's just, like, iconic. That's very Ange of her. And so, yeah, Maria's having a panic attack, so she, makes an excuse of, like, going to get another beer, and then goes and hides out in the garage, right? And so then that's when Jay arrives, and he goes in through the garage because he doesn't want to have to go through the main walkway and have to, like, see all these people and be, like, crowded and all this stuff. You know, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, okay, I recognize, I deserve this. But, and, like, I'm trying to do better. She just manages to push all my buttons. And then he says, give me some credit. If I wanted to date someone from Cyclone, I wouldn't limit myself to women.
He said that, I was like, oh!
Hello? So, then he recognizes, not only is Maria smart and resilient, she also doesn't take his shit, and that, if he hadn't been such a jerk that first time when he opened the door and whatnot, they could have been friends, because, like, Gabe obviously saw that they could have gone along together, and all this stuff, but he fucked it up. And he hates himself for it.
Good.
Like,
you wait.
Yeah, so that's, like, basically, oh my god, is that a Kiki on my phone? Oh.
Yeah.
So so he's like, shit, okay, he apologizes, he offers to, like, he recognizes, it takes him a solid, like, 10 minutes of them bickering for him to recognize that she's hiding out in the garage because she's having a panic attack, and, all this stuff, and he's like, okay, you want to be alone? I'll get out of your hair, I'll be out of your way, okay, so he leaves, and so, then, Maria in her head is thinking that about how, everyone just pushes, her away, or isn't really there how she needs them to be, and things, and I quote, it's never been a good idea to expect anyone will care when I need them to. It never turns out. She sends, the Jay, actual physicist version of Jay, a thumbs up when he asks if she's okay, because she, like, messaged him about having a panic attack or something, and then pushes her feelings back down. We learn that Jay, 12 years ago, his parents split apart. They even filed for a divorce when he went to university, but the paperwork never went through. They patched things up, and they basically have a whole new life, new house, new decorations, new marriage. And I think it's like the morning after the party, and they're joking around as a family as best as they can. And Jay is all like, as long as we're joking, we don't have to admit that Chase died 12 years ago from yesterday. We don't talk about it, we don't visit his grave, we don't remember him in any way except in the overwhelming silences that swallow our laughter. So, the reason why that, Jay, main reason why Jay has not told, M his true feelings and also, like, given his, like, cell phone number or, like, sent any pictures or any of this stuff, it's because, that he'd end up even more enamored with her than he is, and they'd meet and they'd, like, have all this stuff, but, like, the issue is that he works all the time and she would need him eventually, and that never works out well because he never has enough time for anyone, and he purposely did that, so, um, and then Maria, there's a thing, where Jay judges Maria, and I quote, "Jay judging me is the world doing its regular thing." He laughs at something she says, and, she's, like, into his laugh, and it takes her a moment to be like, wait a second, is he laughing with me or at me? And then recognize that she's not laughing?
I thought this was after the drink thing. I'm confused.
I don't remember. Yeah.
No, that happens after
Yes, this is after the morning after, yes. So it's her birthday, she goes out with friends, they're getting drinks, all this stuff, and then he happens to go to the same bar, and he's picking up food. I question the type of people who go to bars to get food, but that's fine.
Well, it says that the food is really, really good, and everyone's getting a bunch of food and shit too.
So he has to wait for his food, so he's just sitting there, so she, sends him flirty drinks, and then he sends her drinks back, so she's just downing them, a lot,
and she's already kind of intoxicated.
Yeah. She, definitely feels judged that, like, how dare she drink on a weekend night, like, right, and whatnot. Her friends are all like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this guy? So she explains everything, and then they're like, oh my god, fuck him. I think at one point she sends him her mace. Which is funny. And then the next morning she's getting coffee. She is very hungover. She's getting coffee, and he happens to be at the same coffee shop, and so she's waiting for her order. And so she's like, let me go before I need to signal a friend to fake text me an emergency to escape this conversation. And then, apparently, while she was drunk, she sent angry text to, actual physicist, aka about how, he treats her, which is definitely valid, because the way that he treats her is that he flirts with her, and then as soon as, she takes it, quote, quote, a little too far, as soon as she flirts back, he's all, like, pushes her back, and he's like, no, we can't do this. And then he'll start flirting with her again. And it's all these mixed messages and all this stuff, and so, very badly, she's all like, dude, either flirt with me or don't, and, like, say how you feel, but stop doing this. So good times. Now, a little tidbit about Maria and her friendship with Tina, and, her living with Tina and Blake, which is her boyfriend. She kind of hates it.
Yeah.
She's like, valid. It's a good situation, but, like, they're always doing, a couple of things. Also, like, after a really bad day, she returns home and just wants to do what she wants to find Blake's father, who is, like, a super rich guy, just in her house doing dishes, and she's like, what the fuck?
I'm upset.
Why?
I put chicken in the air fryer to cook. I'm like, then the timer went off, and I'm just like, it don't smell like chicken in here. I didn't shut it all the way, because it sticks on
yeah.
seal on one side. So it's just been sitting there.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's actually cooking now.
My sweet mother lord.
What?
I will send you a screenshot.
Did somebody get the mail yet? I need to know if you got your...
My sister did get the mail.
Views.
I saw her get the mail in, and she didn't say, hey, you got mail, so I assume I didn't get it.
That's so sad. Can they hurry up?
And she's right below me, so if she hears me saying something about if I got mail, I assume she would be texting me right now if I actually did get mail. And because I'm not feeling a text message come through my phone, I'm gonna go with that I didn't get mail.
Hear me out. I think it's rude that you haven't gotten mail.
I know, right?
Secondly, you're gonna giggle when you see the extra things I put in there.
I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
I hope you giggle at least.
So, yeah, she's like on top of her hangover. She's having to deal with them being all coupley, and then like also Blake's father's just there doing the dishes. A man that she's never met before, who she's heard really bad things about, and starts swearing at her, and she feels very uncomfortable, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And she just wants to like sit in her room and whatnot. And no one decided to warn her that he's coming over, and she's like, "No, this is wrong. They live here." Uh, but like, I just feel like a third wheel, and I hate not feeling secure in my own space. You know, kind of. I hate to get stuff with like Ange and also her parents. Um. Uh. And she also feels like she can't complain, which reminds her of living with Ange. Um. But she's like, no, I can't complain. All this is my own irrational need. Like, it's fine and stuffs it all back down. Um. Okay, so this is the part where we get the suicide. Yay.
LOL, ha ha. Not really LOL, but you know what I mean.
Uh-huh. I'm pretty sure Jay's texting Em about this, right?
Yeah.
So his little brother was a freshman when he was a senior. And he knew that he was like teased occasionally. But he thought he'd figure it out. Kids do. And he was too busy to worry about it. But when stuff got really bad for a bit there, he let him eat lunch with him and his friends. Uh, and then also, 'cause like his dad was like working on a new deadline for a book, and his mom had a project on a deadline as well, so they were too busy. Uh, so he didn't recognize how bad it was, and was at one point he was at tennis practice. The fact that he played tennis, he was at tennis practice. Um, the day that his brother posted on LiveJournal that he wouldn't kill himself as long as one person smiled at him on the way home. And he got
No.
one response, and it was, "Go ahead, no one cares." And by the time, like, Jay was busy at practice, didn't see, like, validly, when you're doing practice for a sport, you don't have your phone in your pocket and can see this shit going down.
Yeah.
Validly, you don't know what's going on until you get a moment to go home and sit down or anything like that. So when he got home, it was already too late. And then the girl who wrote it was his girlfriend. She was sick of Chase eating with us at lunch.
Like,
And then he's like, in her defense, she didn't think he would do it.
still! Like, also, when it's a LiveJournal, I was like, oh my god. Like, I've never experienced LiveJournal, but when I heard that, I was like, obviously I know what it is.
I know, right? So, he blames himself because, his parents only asked him to like look after his brother, and like the one time he let them down is when this happens, and this is why he hates people relying on him, and that's why he's always too busy to start a relationship and all this stuff. And so that's why he always pushes Em away, because he feels like a failure no matter what he does in a relationship, and he's afraid of failing Em, which is sweet and completely valid emotions about everything that happened. Also, cough cough, Tia was the girlfriend. This is why yeah. When you like get the context, it like all clicks into your brain, and like it makes sense. It makes sense. So Em talks about how when she was 12, her parents kicked her out. And that every once in a while she'd go back for like summer, and they try therapy, but it never worked out. And talks about how her mom's mom, who I think is her grandma, the one that she moved in with, right, got divorced, and people looked down on them because of it, or her mom felt like that she was looked down on because of it and all this stuff. And she didn't want her kids to deal with that type of stigma. And so, she wanted her kids to like she had everything planned out for her kids to like make it so they had an okay life and all this stuff. And then M turned out trans, and her mom was like, we can't have that.
Like, be serious.
I know, right?
I would fight Maria's mom. Just saying.
So
And I'd win.
Yeah, I know, right?
But that's
So the things
point.
that her mom would do is she'd scold and complain and threaten. And so to counteract that, M's solution is to keep quiet and push it down until suddenly it all blows up. Again, everything that M/Maria does makes sense with the context. They had a
That's
huge
so
fight
good also.
when she was 12. Her parents and her. Uh, and they said that either she goes to the military boys' school they picked out, or I'd have to leave. So her brother snuck her $100 so she could take a bus to their grandmother's. And she was scared like the whole way, because she's in like an observant Catholic, and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And Jay's all like, "Oh shit, I'm not gonna like how this turns out, am I?" Um, So, so she shows up at her grandmother's house at 12 years old at 11 at night and told her everything. And I'm
Mhm.
not almost gonna cry over this. It's fine.
I feel normal.
So she asked her grandmother if God would turn her into a girl. Um, and so her grandmother's response was, I think he already did.
Yeah.
Praise the grandmother.
She's
Um,
so real. You know it smells like chicken now.
so yeah, they both have like issues with some things about the religious church, Catholic Church, all this stuff.
Valid.
Uh, And so, that's what grandmother good times. Is, after this, he gives her his phone number,
Mhm.
and then she recognizes his cell phone number as a Bay Area code, and hers is San Francisco, um, which means they're right across the bay.
Yeah.
And so, he's all like, "I want to hear your voice right now," and she says, "It's past midnight. I have a hangover, and I need to be up by 8. Call me vain, but when we talk for the first time, I want my voice to sound its dulcet best." And so she says, talk to you tomorrow.
Like,
It's a good time. Okay, we're about to get to the chaos. I haven't brought up this fact. So there's this, at one point Maria does visit her grandmother, who works as a lawyer. Her whole thing is, like, she went back to school, I'm pretty sure, after the divorce to become a lawyer, which, honestly, an icon. Um,
yes.
and, uh, she works in a department that, covers housing needs. Basically, the main case that she's working right now is a landlord trying to kick out his tenant based off of discrimination, and so she makes sure that like when shit like that happens or similar things, the law really hits them hard, which means she works very hard. And when she does work, she on a case like this, she is like full focus on that case and that case only. Um, and whatnot. And the last time Maria saw her, she was having some stomach pains. That is kind of important for later
Yeah. Mhm.
on.
I knew.
I
I
literally
knew what I'm
blocked that
doing.
immediately, and then it's actually brought up, and I was like, damn, I didn't think it was going to be brought up because it was like getting close to the end of the book. Uh,
But
so
honestly, her grandma's so real. We
we
stand.
do love her grandma. So Maria, so Gabe has, you know, that talk that the Gabe tested for Rachel, Maria, and Jay. Well, the full thing is happening now. So Jay's the one that has to take Maria because he has to sign her in again. I was right. It is
Mhm.
close to 50% because according to my notes, this is 49% of the way through the book. Um, so, they're walking up this very steep hill to the building, and he's like, she's very standoffish towards him, and he's all like, Maria doesn't like me, and I can hardly blame her. I accept the responsibility for that. Um, And so, he's all like, I get it, but, like, I can't leave her behind, and she can't leave me behind. And so he has to walk faster to catch up to her, right? But she manages, in her heels, in these high heels, to walk even faster, but that's when his eyes catch on her feet. And he's not much of a foot person, or shoe person. But Maria is wearing red heels. Not just red heels. His brain says the same thing he said when he texted Em about the shoes when she sent him a photo of the said fuck off shoes, which is sure are shoes. So he's like, everything just time slows for him. And he's all like, oh my god, they're 3-inch heels, red, chased with a bit of ribbon. Also that, decorated with gold butterflies and Swarovski crystals. I know those shoes. I have them practically memorized. Maria Lopez is wearing M's fuck off shoes. So the first fact that falls into place is that Maria is M. A second fact, that there's no way he can tell her what he's just discovered. M would never forgive him if she knew who he really was, and he can't lose M.
Situation like this, like in any book, where it's like, if I don't tell them this thing, they're gonna get upset, but if I tell them this thing, they're gonna be upset. But one would be worse than the other.
Yeah, this whole section is basically being like, I can't tell her. She will hate me forever. And then he's all like, if I just FaceTime her when we were supposed to FaceTime tonight. And then I'm just like, oh shit, I didn't know you were you. She would totally believe it, because there's like no way I would have known. But then he's like, I have to tell her. But also, he's also recognizing that the reason why she's wearing fuck off shoes is for him. He's all like, I will ruin everything if I tell her. And then he recognizes that everything that Maria has told him and everything M has told him, like, there's like a mitosis thing going on in his brain. Don't question my brain right now. Where they're like, things are clicking in his brain, and he's all like, wait a second, this whole time it would have been completely obvious if I had just like stopped and thought, but like, I couldn't see past the bullshit I made up about Maria in the first place. And he recognizes how wrong he was the first time they met. And then he recognizes, fourth thing he realizes is that he can't not tell her, and all this stuff. So then he's all like, no, so it's like this whole back and forth thing, where he's like, I have to tell her, and then he's like, no, everything will change, I can't tell her, I can figure it out, I can untangle things, I can handle this, all this stuff, and then he's like, but I have to tell her, because M doesn't deserve me lying to her. So he tries to explain it to her, and she takes it the wrong way, what he's trying to say, and he understands that he's mishandling it. And I quote, I have no experience admitting to my worst enemy that I've been secretly in love with her alter ego. So he says the next thing that pops into his head, which is, your middle name is Camilla. Of course it is. And then she's like, wait, how did you know that? And he says, because your initials are MCL.
Yeah.
And she just goes very, still. And so she, is like, leave me alone. And he's like, I can't, I signed you to a government lab. You can't just wander off. And then she's like, fuck. So she's listening to Gabe's talk, but she's not actually listening to Gabe's talk because she's too busy, panicking. Because he knows all her past, he knows about the vlog. There's also this whole conversation about soup at one point, it's very cute, blah blah blah. She's like almost crying. But she doesn't want to cry in the same room with him because he will comfort her, and if he comforts her, she might actually let him in, and all this stuff. I'm
so fine right now, like.
So, yeah, right after the talk, she goes to Gabe and she's like, actually, I can't come to dinner tonight. I am not feeling well. And goes out into the hallway. Jay follows her, right?
This conversation.
I know, right? And he's like, I'm guessing you like me as much as I liked you. Or that's what she says, right? And then and then he recognizes that he likes her more than she likes him, no matter what version of him. Um, and she's like having a breakdown, and she's all like, I can't even tell Gabe about any of this because he doesn't even know about my blog. Um, and so he's all like, he comforts her. He holds her. She literally says, "I think I need you to hold me anyway," and then he holds her gently. They hug.
I'm fine. I'm so fine. Like, I don't know what you're talking
Um,
about. I'm fine.
she tells him it means nothing,
LOL.
and so he
Sure.
gives her a little squeeze, and then she almost starts crying again. And then he turns around and goes back into the room, and he tells Gabe that, she really doesn't feel well, and says that he doesn't have a car there, but if Gabe does, uh, then Gabe should, like, probably drive her home because she's not feeling well. So she, goes into the elevator and leaves him behind, and, doesn't look at him again, because if she does, she might not let him leave.
I'm fine. I'm so fine. I got a kitty cat in my lap, and I'm fine. I swear.
I'm pretty sure he offers her soup. It's the thing. Okay. So oh no, so he goes out to lunch with his mom. He just shows up to his mom's work, and his mom's like, okay, you just showed up randomly at work. You, like, took time aside to do this. Something's going on. I'll take you out. Right?
Yeah.
He orders soup. Valid. So he asks her, what do you do when you fuck up so badly that nobody can ever expect anything of you again? Um, and then she assumes he's talking about, her, the two of them, parents and Chase. Um, and he assumes when she asks her about that, she means how they feel about him and Chase, not them and Chase. Right? Right. So, oh, this is where we learn that, Watt, the father, also had issues when he was growing up, and so, but he, and I quote, and he came around, and so that's why she let, the issues with Chase slide, because she was like, okay, he'll probably be fine. He'll probably be fine. I'm busy. Everything's going great. Um, and so that's when he admits that he feels like she blames him. Um, and she's like, no, Cleo was the one who pushed him over the edge, not you. Or no, yeah, and then, he's all like, after that, no matter what I did, I knew I disappointed you guys. You stopped pushing, you stopped asking, even I disappeared for 3 days and you didn't even ground me. Yeah, also during or 3 years, 3 days. During those 3 days, he got a bunch of tattoos.
Of like geometric patterns and shapes because that's what Chase used to draw all the time. I'm normal. Like,
Yeah. So he's trying to figure out what to do. Basically, it's this whole scene where, like, his mother's like, hey, it's on us as the parents, not you as the literal child. And they hug it out. Good times. I think there's also a thing where, like, the parents blamed each other, and that's why they almost divorced at one point. But they had to put aside their, hatred for that and their feelings about that to come back together and all this stuff, right? So then Ajay's thinking about what to do about Maria, right, and his feelings. And he's all like, when he's thinking about everything that he did and said to Maria, he's like, I was mistaken, that's all. Everyone makes mistakes, right? And it's not like she was nice to me in response. It's not all my fault. It was a series of snide remarks and shitty blunders on both sides, and we fucked up in equal measure. But then, he quickly recognizes, I'm lying to myself, I pretend it's less than 95% my fault. And it takes a few days for that to sink in. Um, that he recognizes well, I think that like he's slowly been recognizing his issues uh and prejudices about beautiful women up until this point, but this point is when he like actually lets it sink into himself the knowledge that deep in his subconscious he had the notion that women who look nice aren't real and can't be smart and all this stuff. So he writes Emma a letter.
Yeah. On fancy handmade paper that he bought.
Yes.
It was expensive.
He gives it to her, and it says, she reads it out, and it says, "Dear Maria, I am so sorry. I feel a pang in my chest. Blah, blah, blah. I fucked up. I can't count the ways that I fucked up, but I will try. 1, I jumped to the conclusions. I'm not going to excuse or explain myself. That's not the point of this letter. 2, you got under my skin early, and I treated you like crap because of it. No excuses. I realized I'd come to an erroneous conclusion, and I hate being wrong. I was entirely obvious that I was wrong, and so I took it out on you. That was also fucked up. 3, I don't know how to go forward. I don't know if there's a forward. But you are important to me. I don't know what to do with that. It's just the simple truth. You are important to me. You're important enough that even if there is no when, if there's no what, and there's no longer me in your life, I'm going to do better. Yours, Jay. So
what if I bash my face off?
So she shows up to his office in the middle of the night. He's still working. It's completely dark, and she's standing in his doorway. And she's like, he's like worrying about why she's there and thinking about all the, and she's just like, stop thinking, just hold me.
I'm fine.
So then they start kissing.
Well, I thought that was the second time. The first time was like they had a little text conversation. You know, they're sitting in the same room.
I think they
do. I don't know. I don't.
It's all blah blah blah. But basically they have a little conversation and then they kiss, right? And she says, "I hate you." He says, "I know." She says, "I wish you weren't you." He says, "I know. I really." And then she says, "I really, really like you." And he says, "I know." And then they kiss some more. And then he's like, "There's only one way to get her to believe. I won't push her away. I have to not do it over and over again until she believes in me." And then he flirts with her with math, and he says, "In my defense, math is pretty hot, and I only have so many tools."
This is fine.
The reason why she's so standoffish about them possibly starting a relationship is she has an issue trusting people so they won't hurt her. Anyone really, friends, anyone. But with Jay, it's not a hypothetical because he has hurt her and all this stuff.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
So I think they go out to dinner, right? And they basically like do a redo type thing. She says, "What's a focus guy like you doing in a place like this?" And then he says, "What's it look like? I'm focusing." But he's looking at her when he says that. Like, I'm just a simple girl with simple needs.
He's so smooth. Like,
so some like, you know, arm touches and things happen. And then he says, it really is simple. I'm going to let go of your hand now because I have to eat. But I'm taking it again when I am done, and I'm not letting go until you tell me I have to.
I'm normal. No, because the way he goes back and forth between calling her M and Maria, like, please. Please.
Then he says, she's like, "What are you thinking about?" Right, at one point. Because he's like just staring at, he's just very focused thinking about something. And he's like, "Just trying to figure out what I was wearing before. Somehow I knew you for months before I noticed you were the most beautiful woman in the world." And, like, she, like, expects him to say it in, like, a cheesy line, but, like, it's actually in, like, oh, as if he just came to this realization. And all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he takes her to his apartment, where he tells her to sit in a chair, and so she does. And then he kneels in front of her, and skims his hands up her boots.
I'm fine. I'm so fine.
He looks up into my eyes, and warmth washes over me. He finds his zipper at my left knee and slowly pulls it down. I would like everyone to know that at this point, he does ask what kind of shoes they are. And she says, fuck me shoes. And he says something along the lines of, if you really want it, I want you to be the one that says it. And so she says, fuck me. And that's
I'm normal. I'm sorry.
That's the line that I knew Fish would love, and that's when he's all like sit and then like seductively unzips her shoes. Like, I'm not a feet person, very not a feet person.
Neither am I.
But if a man or any person seductively took off my shoes while looking into my eyes and caressing my leg, I think I'd be into it.
No, hear me out. You know how I wear my big stompy boots that have zippery zippers? You know, if a pretty girl told me to sit in a chair and then proceeded to get on her knees and then proceeds to unzip my boots, it's over for me. Like,
I know, right? So he pulls her into bed and he makes her feel safe. I'm fine. It's
we're
just
so
me,
normal.
but when a person, especially a person who has gone through trauma in their past, is in bed with someone else, and they, for the first time, with that person, and they feel safe, they're like, I feel safe, like the words I feel safe are either spoken out loud or in their head. Is it just like that much hotter? Is it just like 10 times hotter, or is that just me?
No, I agree.
Okay.
Chicken's done.
Oh, that's good. I was gonna say I haven't eaten anything today, but then I remembered the bagel I had.
Well, that's for dinner. I like being prepared occasionally.
So, basically they bang. They bang-a-lang-a-lang.
Yeah.
They bang-a-lang-a-lang. And she's all like, she, recognizes that, like, this whole time, that, like, she knew if she let him get close that she was going to get hurt, and she was fine with it. And I quote, but right now, looking up into his eyes, having tasted perfection, I'm aware of just how much he can hurt me, and I almost don't care.
Like, and then they bang in the shower.
No, before they bang in the shower, he tells her that, he's tried his hardest to be enough like she told him in those messages. He was. And he says, what I really, really wish for at this moment is that I will be your enough, as he's just, like, stroking her jaw.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
And then they bang in the shower.
They got in the shower, and I was like, I hope they bang in the shower. And then they banged in the shower. And
Imagine me reading Monster Smart and then seeing those messages from you and being like, yeah. And then, I was like, you know, not that much longer after that, in the Monster Smart I'm reading, they banged in the shower.
Oh my god.
And I was laughing.
I don't know how the logistics of banging in a shower would work, but, like, it's hot when you read about it.
I recognize it's probably not hot in real life. Because
why are people always banging in showers?
That feels very unsafe to me, right?
I can think of like 3 books right off the top of my head where they bang in the shower.
Same.
Hold Me, Tristic Venom. There's another one where, I don't know.
I can think of 3. Deceived by the Gargoyles, Hold Me, and Dating Dr. Dill.
Oh my god. I forgot about that book. Hey, you can't have my chain. Hey! Well, I've rigged my belt chain, but it keeps coming off from being attached to my belt. And I'm trying to put the little thingy back on, so I don't lose it. And I'll reattach it to my belt later, but it's finicky.
So she's thinking about their relationship and about how she's
Hey,
told a lot of things about herself and her past, and in that way, it's the most intimate relationship she's ever had. Like, does he know her favorite color? No. Has he really only
you know
known
my
her
favorite color?
name for a few weeks? Yes, but like he knows things about her that like no one's ever known, and it's very weird. Um, but
Valid.
uh Okay, so Jay has to go away for the research stuff. And so after 2 weeks, he's back. And he's like, 2 weeks should be nothing in a relationship, but every day I was gone, I felt her absence in my bed like a palpable thing.
So see,
And then
if I
he's all
feel
like, I want to introduce you to my parents. And she's all like, um. And so he's like, what, do you have a bad experience with someone's parents not liking you? And she's like, Jay, my parents don't like me. And he's like, shit, you're right. Okay, I'm sorry. We can wait on that until you're ready. And then he
fine,
doesn't bring it up to
fine.
her, but that like when him and Gabe were friends in Harvard and whatnot, Gabe's their parents came and took all his friends out to dinner, right? And so he's technically met her parents, but not as her parents, right? And he's like, they seemed nice. Don't like them anymore. Oh, we learned more about the therapy sessions that Maria tried to go to with her parents. And every time her mom would call and say she wanted to try, I'd give my hopes up. I start daydreaming, and then we try, and I listened to my mother explain how hard it was for her, how all she wanted for her children to have the safe space uh she never had as a child, and how it was my fault it hadn't happened. I had my list of things that I wanted. It wasn't long, but I never got to present it. She thought that if I just understood how my existence hurt her, I would change. Um, and she explains how she uh has issues of people like going away. If they're like not in sight sometimes. And she had issues especially in high school where if her grandmother came home late from work, she would have a massive panic attack, working herself into a state thinking that her grandmother left her. Um, and he's all like, he's all like ready to fight people, I swear.
Yeah.
So she explains that basically her whole thought process, blah blah blah, everything, all things we've already learned. To ask if they can hold off on meeting his parents. And he's like, yes, of course. And so he says, you're beautiful. And to which she like makes a weird snort, and he's like, "No, that's not the right word. Striking was what I thought the first time I saw you. There's something utterly compelling about you. I can't look away, and that's what it feels like at a distance. And up close, you're made of the stuff that binds the universe together." And then she says, "Isn't everyone technically?"
Like,
And he says, "Sure, but I only notice it with you."
this is normal.
At this point, Jay and Gabe go out to lunch, and Jay brings up the fact that him and Maria are kind of dating. And Gabe's like, bitch, what the fuck? That's my sister, and also you don't really have a great track record, and that's my sister. And so he's internally like, oh my god, she's very close to her family, especially her brother and her grandmother, and she hasn't even told him about me. What does that mean? But out loud, he's like, uh, we can make a list of my faults, and trust me, Maria's more than aware of their existence. But how many times have you talked to your sister in the last month? And he says,
All these are
dozen or
valid.
two. Don't give me a shit about my track record. If she didn't tell you, how seriously do you think she's taking this? Do you really think I have the capacity to hurt her?
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes to her and he's like, hey, why didn't you tell your brother? And she's all like, I didn't tell him because I assumed we were going to break up in a few months anyway. You guys are friends. I didn't want to make things awkward for you. Uh, And he asks why she thought that, and she says, why wouldn't I lose people I care about all the time? And she's, as she's saying this, right, I think he's also at the same time being like, I will give you anything you want, all this stuff. And she, in her head, all she can think about is arguing with her mother, trying to tell her what I wanted, having it dismissed as selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So, she asked him to read over her next blog post while she goes to make tea, right? And so he's like in bed on her computer, reading, but the front thing on front, she says it's the thing up front, and it's not, it's her spreadsheet that she has based off of career options and whatnot, and it has like income, all this stuff, right? Where it is, and there's also a whole tab that's just like, I think there's a tab that says Jay, I'm not 100% sure. She's low-key contemplating putting him into the spreadsheet. I remember that. And I remember him being upset because one of the options is in like New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's all like, if she wanted me to know all the details, she would have told me. And of course I'm wondering why she didn't want me to know. But instead goes to the blog post and reads it. And recognizes that she told him that she needs places to hide, and that in her computer, in her spreadsheets, all that stuff is hers, and that he's not gonna be a dick about it, but it still does hurt him. I can't make M trust me, but I can trust her. She'll give me the why and how when she's ready, and maybe one day it'll be enough. Or I'll be enough, that's what it is. Uh, so, then, just a great line that I wish someone would say to me, someday. In the meantime, I was wondering, nice velociraptor invasion, wanna fuck? I just found that line very funny.
When I read that, I was like, oh my god, that's so rose-coded.
It is so decoded. I love velociraptors.
I love how there's two sentences that are so us-coded that
Yeah.
we probably squealed about.
So,
Completely different sentences.
Jay, the next morning, I'm pretty sure has to go back to where his scientist lady lives, right? To do some research and whatnot. Uh, and Maria gets a call from her grandmother that she's in the hospital. I think she's like at home, right? When she gets the call. And she's like, it's stupid. It's just because I can't keep these stupid antibiotics down. And it also might be because they think I'm stubborn. Maybe I didn't come in when I first realized there was blood in my urine. I think there's like a kidney infection or something going on, right?
Yeah.
So she immediately runs to the hospital. She's freaking out. Her grandmother's like, I'm fine. Calm down. They're giving me everything already. I'll be completely fine. I need to, like, stop focusing on work so much, but I'm fine. And meanwhile, Maria's there just like, ah! And so a nurse is like, hey, visiting hours are over. So she leaves, the room to find Jay sitting in one of the very uncomfortable hospital seats. And
Let's go!
he's just typing on his computer with food that he brought for her. But he's supposed to be on a plane to Australia. That's where she is, Australia. And so she's like, what? And he's all like, hey, Gabe texted me when I was still at the airport, right? And she's like, but why are you here? And he's like, your grandmother was in the hospital. Gabe was in Switzerland. Someone had to bring you soup. Switzerland is where Gabe's fiance is. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
I switched them in my brain. And so he brought her Korean food. And he says, it was just work. Which, for someone like Jay to say.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's like, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. And then he gives her soup. Again, I don't bring it up, but they had this whole very cute conversation as M, an actual physicist, about the importance of soup and all the stuff, and how soup always makes her feel better. And so he brought her soup when she was dealing with something very emotional, and skipped a work thing. He was like, I just didn't go on the plane, and I bought you soup instead. I don't even like soup, and I'm just like, ah.
No, if someone did that for me, like, it's not hard to meet people's needs. Like, we want some soup. Like,
I know, right?
maybe take off our shoes. Like, what? Like, how's that too much to ask for? Like,
I know, right? Um, so, she, I think he drops her off at home, right? And, she thinks that he's breaking up with her. And it
yeah,
takes
that
her a
was,
moment to realize that he's saying, no, I'm all in. I don't know what this means, except that I'm all in. If you move across the country and I only get to see you 4 times a year, I'm still all in. And this is a bitch who, like, only talks to his friends when they're in the same state as him. Or county as him. Okay, so, she goes home, she has a sit-down conversation about Tina, because Tina's trying to be like, hey, you wanna, like, get an apartment together with Blake. And right now, I think that's what's happening, I don't remember. And she has a sit-down conversation with Tina, basically being like, yeah, I don't want to do that, I love you, but living with both of you is completely hell for me, because I don't feel like I have my own agency. And so, and then she explains, like, all the issues she has with them being roommates, and, like, Tina's like, why did you never tell me any of this? And she's like, I felt like you were gonna just hate me if I did. That thing she has. Right. And Tina's like, bitch. So another thing that's also been happening in the background is Ange is throwing a party, and she's forcing Maria to go. Maria does not want to go, on top of
as
not
a
wanting
shark
to
for a
dress
chicken.
up. Yes, because it's supposed to be this whole thing that's like blank versus glow in the dark shark. And I think the glow in the dark shark's name is Lisa. That is important. Uh
Yeah.
and she's like, obviously, Maria's gonna dress up as Lisa, and she's like, I fucking hate this shark. And so she sits down with Ange. She has a sit down conversation with Dave. She's like, I gotta have a conversation with you. Um, and she explains, our landlord said he was gonna kick us out because of Lisa. I have issues with getting kicked out of places I live. I like stability, and I hate surprises. Lisa gave me nightmares.
Mhm.
Uh,
That
and
I
then
understand.
Ange's like, oh, I knew something was up, but, like, I didn't know it was that. I could have just had my dad keep her. And then Lisa, not Lisa. Marie explains, I thought you might choose Lisa over me, and if you were going to do that, I didn't want to know.
That is so heartbreaking. You know.
They kind of make up, I don't know. It seems too clean of a makeup. I very much don't like Ange for
Yeah.
a lot of
I didn't
reasons.
like that.
And it was very much too clean of a makeup for a thing where, like, Ange is very much one of those friends where, like, you were very close for a year or two. Yeah, I get that. But then, like, after you go your separate ways, you realize all the shit that happened and went down, and how they make you feel, and you decide to keep, like, them at arm's distance. Like, you're still nice, and, like, if you see each other at the same party or on the street, like, you still talk and whatnot. I mean, you're still friendly, but, like, you aren't, like, inviting them to hang out, to go to the bar or something, right? Like,
Mhm.
right? Um, Gabe texts Maria and is like, I don't I have something to tell you. Don't be defensive. But Jay told me months before he started dating you that he was really into someone else. Cough, cough. I'm trying to.
Hello.
I'm trying not to be all aggro big brother about this, but I just don't want you to get hurt. She's like, dude, little brother. First things first. Oh, yeah, here's the thing. There's a funny joke where she calls him little brother despite the fact that she's 3 years younger because, she's like, I think she is 5'10", because she's 6'2", wearing 4-inch heels. I remember this. Um, I love a tall woman. I love you.
Real.
Anyways,
Real.
and so she always calls him little brother, which is funny because when she wears her 4-inch heels, because she's generally taller than most men, let alone when she's wearing heels, right? That's like a thing for her. And so a lot of men don't like that. Valid. I get her thought process on that. Yep. And so Jay is like 6'3", I'm pretty sure. Which, for some reason, does not click in my brain. Every time I picture him like 5'10". But when she's wearing
real.
her tall heels, he's still an inch taller than him at all times. So that's another thing. Anyway, she tells Gabe, first thing first, you're seriously telling me that the day after Nana lands in the hospital, your timing sucks. Second, has it ever occurred to you that he was talking about me? And he's just like, what? Spelled W-U-T. Yeah, I only have one more note about this, and it's at 92% of the way through the book. So I don't know what the other 8% of the book is. I assume it's something being happily ever after.
I think it's mostly just wrapping up everything. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I do remember he
And then
picks
all
up
of a
his
sudden they're
dad's
perfectly
book.
fine and they, yeah.
I do remember he picks up his dad's book and then recognizes that his something about the dedication in it that made him close the book was because he called Chase one thing and Jay another thing nickname. Like I think it was son and boy or something like that, right? Or kiddo, something like that. And
Chase called Chase. He was called, I don't know.
but the name or the nickname that he puts in the book for the dedication is the one for Jay. And then he reads the book and he recognizes, yes, technically it's about a parent grieving their child, but like it's not about us and all this stuff. So yeah, it's great. She gets him a plant.
Yeah.
And he's all like, I kill plants. And she's like, I know, you told me. That's why I need to keep coming over to make sure you don't.
Part of the person you don't know what happened. She goes to talk to that one guy who emailed.
Oh yes, I remember this. Okay, so yeah, there was like a professor who was like, she's trying to figure out what she wants to do, and whatnot, right? And she recognizes to get what she wants to do, in her life, she should probably get a master's, in this new type of career type thing, right? And the best place to go would be to this place. And the guy who would be in charge of letting her do that is, the professor or whatnot, is a guy who emailed her as the blog person, the MCL, to like co-write a post together, right? And so she shows up to his office and he's like, "Hey, can I talk to you about signing up for next semester?" And he's like, "Well, technically it's deadline." He's basically like pretending she's not really a person, really. He's like basically ignoring her, just doing other things, right? Until she brings up the fact that like she's MCL and that he asked to do a post together, and that's why she thought he'd be a good choice to go with. And he's like, okay. So they make like a whole plan where she's going to do something in between semesters because like technically she didn't sign up enough time for that semester, so then like she's gonna sign up for the next semester. But in between, she's going to take classes or do something like that. And then I think she's going into a certain type of science that makes her dream career path make more sense. And because like no one else is doing it, she'll be like one of the first to doing the specific career path, um, and whatnot. And yeah. So she has a career path. It's close enough where she can go on like her day off. So like it's close by. So she doesn't have to leave Jay behind and go to New York. Um, she does get the New York position, which is technically her dream position, but or will one day be her dream position, but she's like, I don't want that. That doesn't seem like a fun time to me. And, yeah, things are happily ever after.
Yeah.
The end. Book is good.
It was good book.
It was good book.
Good book.
Do you have,
Book good.
any other thing to say about book that is good?
Book good. Good book.
We make so much sense at the end of every episode we do this. I feel like.
I think our brains turn to mush by the end of
yeah, by the end of each episode, I'm just like, it's all like, okay, now you say things, and then you're just like, book good. From having to listen to me talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours straight.
It's been more than an hour and a half, Bessie.
I know, because I think it's closer to 2.5 hours. It's a good thing I can cut out a good chunk. It's
It was
fun.
it was it was a good book. I enjoyed book.
Am I gonna read more of the series? Yes. Am I gonna actually look into putting other books by Courtney Milan on my wait list? Because, like, I should, like, read some of them.
Yeah, I'm not, respectfully, even though this was really good.
What's the Courtney Milan series that I'm in the middle of? I can't remember.
Yeah, you should finish that.
Yeah, I've read 2 novellas in it. Yeah, it is The Brother Sinister. I've read The Governess Affair, which I rated nearly 5 stars. It was like the last book I read in 2022, or second to last book I read in 2022, and it was almost like a favorite of the year. Like, it was so good. And then I read the first full-length novel in the series called The Duchess War. It was good. And I've read the first novella, which is the first Courtney Milan I read, or second novella, which is the first Courtney Milan I've ever read, which is called, and I quote, A Kiss for Midwinter. Because it's a Christmas romance. It's what started my Christmas/holiday historical romance obsession. Is that book. It's all Courtney Milan's fault. Anyways, they apparently have every book in the series available right now. Should I, Liddy?
So you have other things to read.
The way I was like, I don't know if it's St. Martin's Press, though. No, it's not. It's Courtney Milan. You know this. Everything is Courtney Milan. Just everything is Courtney Milan. Courtney Milan. Courtney Milan. I feel like you'd like her.
Valid.
I know you don't like historical romances. I tried my hardest, bestie.
I've never read one.
I know you've never read one, which is why I tried to get you one of my favorite books of last year, which was a gay historical romance. I try all the time to make you read
I'll
it.
get there.
And you're just like, yeah, I'll read it one day. And I'm just over here just like, I want to reread it at least once a month. And you're telling me you'll get there?
Do you want me to read Bloodmarks? Because that's the next Rose book I'm reading. I gotta reread Bloodborne first.
May. That's so far down the line, my dude.
I'm planning to read it before May!
It's like right here. I can see it. It's right.
I'm planning to read it before May. Like, God, use your little brain, please.
Well, how dare you read my favorite book of all time?
I won't read it if you don't want me to.
No, you have to read it because you're gonna hate me so much. You're gonna hate me so much.
Well, considering the third and fourth books aren't coming out until like when, I don't know if I want to read it.
So the third one's not supposed to come out until next year.
I'm muting myself. My mom's calling me. She's like, it's gonna be warm. Give the duck a bath. I'm like,
Hello. One, I just learned that, well, I already knew Oathbound, which is the third book in the Legendborn series, doesn't come out until 2025, but we don't even have a cover of it yet, so.
What's it called?
Oathbound.
Oathbound.
Uh-huh. And then also, I learned in 2022, the rights to turn Legendborn into a TV series was bought. So, there's a possibility it could happen. No, it'd be really funny if, for the Legendborn Bloodmarked episodes, I try to do it 100% by memory with me just just flipping through the book.
You could do it.
I 100% could do it for Legendborn. It's no issue. It's in my brain. Wait, do you have any final thoughts about Hold Me?
Good book. Book good. No, that's what you want. You want no.
It makes me laugh every time.